All right. Well, this may be a bigger adventure than I set out for it to be. Let's dive into it, shall we? Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Rolling with T-Bone, as we're rolling down the road on the Blue Moon. If you're new here, welcome in. My name's T-Bone. I shoot motorcycle related content and any kind of content really. If you're old here, welcome back. You know what's going on. We're in an interesting moment in the Harley-Davidson universe. Now, a couple of things about today's adventure. I want to talk to specifically the Dyna owners. Dyna Lowrider, Dyna Super Glide. I'm not so sure about the Dyna Wide Glide, but specifically Dyna Super Glide and Dyna Low Glide owners. Y'all might be particularly interested in this particular video. One part of it is learning something about this bike just recently is the reason I'm shooting this video, but learning that I'm nearly out of fuel as we ride toward the Liquid Gold house where we pump that liquid gold. I just hope we make it, but nonetheless, let's not focus on that right now. So I said specifically the Dyna Super Glide and the Dyna Lowrider fans, if you live on planet Dyna in the Harley-Davidson universe, information I received earlier this week has really flipped everything about my Dyna over, because what I found out earlier this week is that for whatever reason, the Dyna Lowrider, my Dyna Lowrider, this 1997 Dyna Lowrider, or Super Glide, I'm sorry, not a Lowrider, my 97 Dyna Super Glide that I traded the Midnight Express, my 84 FLT for, has, through a couple of different reasons, become the most valuable motorcycle I own. The oldest motorcycle I own has now become the most valuable. So where this information come from, or what got me started on this track of checking out what was being said, was a YouTuber by the name of Her Two Wheels, Jess up in Ohio. She has a Dyna and she also has a Road Glide. I follow Jess, I watch all of her videos. She's a great content creator. If you haven't checked her out on YouTube, she is Her Two Wheels. Give her a check out. But she was riding her Dyna in her last video, and she sent out a thing in the algorithm to everyone else who rides Dynas, especially Super Glides and Lowriders. These bikes have doubled in value in the last 2 years. Meaning, if the Dyna Lowrider or the Dyna Super Glide, either one, a couple of years ago, if you looked up the value of it, it might have said like $5,400, $5,300. Today, it will say $10,600, because these bikes have doubled in value in the last couple of years. And the research that I've done is, number one, is the popularity of these motorcycles has shot through the roof, especially the Super Glide, because they're raising them up, putting bags on them, putting fairings on them, laying slick paint jobs on them, putting T-bars on them. They're making drift bikes out of them. They're making short range tour bikes out of them. They're making stunt bikes out of them. These bikes right here are just like the Sportster. They're versatile, and you can do just about anything with them. So the Dyna Lowrider and the Dyna Super Glide have both shot up in value. Now, the reasoning for that is My Super Glide has forward controls on it, but originally these bikes came with mid controls. They were built for sport riding, leaning tighter into curves, having more control on the center of the bike into curves. They were made for twisties and off-roading and back roading. But the popularity through the customs has really picked up. Harley Davidson even noticed that. Harley Davidson introduced in the Softail family the Lowrider S, and this past year they introduced the Lowrider ST, which is a sport touring model of the Lowrider S, which has the same kind of fairing, bags, slick paint jobs like these guys are customizing these Dyna Super Glides to be. So the popularity and the value of these bikes shot through the roof. So it's hard to believe that the oldest bike I own is now the most valuable bike I own. You know, I've done some things to this bike since I got it to change it and make it more for me. Change the pipes, change the bars. More of a classic look. It does have a windshield on it. I don't have a jammer fairing on it, but this bike always turns heads no matter where I go. It always gets talked about in a group. When I'm in a group riding it, they're like, yeah, okay, so that's the Super Glide, which you got haters out there that are going to say, well, the Dyna Super Glide ain't nothing but a Sportster on steroids. Okay, you know, if that's what you want to say, that's fine, but this is a big twin motorcycle. The only thing that makes this bike right here comparable to a Sportster would be with the mid shift on it, and it's got the same 39mm front end that the Sportster 1200 has. So I'll concede that point. Yeah, it has a Sportster type front end on it. With mid controls, it would be a lot like riding a mid shift 1200, but the power is where the big difference is. This has got big twin power where Sportsters don't have big twin power. Alright guys, sorry, got a little liquid gold, not much. I just can't bring myself, and I know I said this in the last video when I was on the V-Rod, that you know, my bikes are going to have to learn how to ride off of mid-grade. I just can't bring myself to pump mid-grade into a carbureted motorcycle anymore. Now, she had no reason to pull over, but she did it. So, back to what we were talking about before. A lot of things have happened that have changed the value of motorcycles, and motorcycle trends when it comes to purchasing motorcycles, selling, buying motorcycles. Those of us who've been in the motorcycle world for years and years and years, we've always noticed the trends. And at my age, I can actually remember the chopper trends of the 90s, when choppers took a turn and started getting real popular. You had channels like the Speed Channel that was showing all these different bikes online, different bike builders, you know. Then came along OCC and West Coast Choppers, and everybody was building choppers, and everybody was a chopper god. Then you started seeing an uptake, a downtick in that. Then all of a sudden, along came bobbers, cafe racers. I mean, the trends keep repeating themselves. Right now, we're in this bobber trend that is, or bagger trend that is starting to fade out a little bit. People are starting to get away from the big wheel baggers. Of course, show bikes are always going to be built, but people are looking at those bikes a lot like they looked at the choppers back in the late 90s, early 2000s, which was, yeah, they're cool, they're great looking bikes, they're cool looking bikes, but when you set on one, you do 150, 200 miles, it's not a cool bike anymore. It does nothing but hurt you. But you know, which there's some people who are fine with that. They're fine with riding with no suspension on a hardtail chopper with a flat mounted seat, and they're fine. They don't have any back issues. God bless you if you're one of them people. I always say to people who do not have back issues, if you don't, thank God every day that you don't, because back issues are no fun. But nonetheless, just the Dyna, kind of like the Softail Custom or the Softail Standard or the Fat Boy, it's always kind of been at the two top tiers. Your Softail and Dyna. Baggers are pretty well much like the Road King, the Road Glide, the Street Glide. They've always been around, but the cruiser class has always been Dyna and Softail at the top of just the straight cruisers. But all this goes back to, and I think I've done a video on this, I might have even showed some pictures from the era in the 80s when they were putting out certain bikes. They had a Dyna Tour Glide, a Dyna Touring Special. They came out on the Dynas. People were ripping them off and throwing them away. They didn't like the little windjammer fairing. They didn't want the saddlebags. They just wanted a straight cruiser, which led to some great looking custom bikes coming out of that era. They were slammed, solo seated, bob fenders. Most of them had pullback drag bars on them. They were good looking bikes. But now with this new trend, what's old is new again. So basically what I researched and what I looked up is, I don't care if you've got a Dyna Lowrider or a Dyna Super Glide sitting in the barn in a box, you're still pulling premium money for it. And I went straight to Geico. Geico is where I got the value. Nada and Kelly Blue Book, Geico pulls straight from them, and they tell me, and she was like, Jess was laughing, she was like, I can't believe how much more valuable this bike has become just in a short amount of time. And guys, a couple of years in the motorcycle world isn't a long amount of time, because right now you've got the Lowrider ST, which, here's the thing, this is what brings the popularity to a head. This is what, if you can pinpoint one thing, what's going to make it so valuable, or what's going to make it so popular. Man, I love the way this bike sounds with those drag pipes on it. But anyway, squirrel. Not everybody's going to want to try to fork out $26,000, $27,000, $28,000 to go buy a Lowrider ST. Now, I'm not sure what their base price starts at, but I'm sure it's somewhere right along in there. 20,000s, it's in the 20s for sure, but not everybody can afford or would want to go pay that. So they start looking at trends of the past, and they find out that these bikes right here, the Dyna Super Glide, which has been around since I think the 70s is when the Super Glide was introduced. But literally these bikes have been around for decades. And if you go look for those fairings that come out in the 80s, and you can get you some shorty saddlebags, well, you've essentially got a Lowrider ST, just a Dyna, not a Softail. And like I said, the popularity of the Dyna has always been there, because even a 97 model Dyna Super Glide was still worth nearly $6,000. That was before that was before this huge upturn, because I started looking at the value of everything, and it was like, holy crap. 2003 model, 2002 model, the 97 model is the most expensive bike. Well, I'm not going to say most expensive bike, I'll say the most valuable bike. So if you're sitting out there today, and jump on YouTube if you've got your spare time, there's a lot of people doing stuff with Dynas. They're transforming them into what I've been talking about. And then some of them are just putting T-bars on them, small racing cow, raising the rear ends up and just making a good looking muscle bike out of it, which this bike has plenty of power. It can definitely be a muscle bike. But I guess what I'm trying to get across is that if you're sitting on a Dyna that you've been waiting to see how the market goes, if you were ever going to sell your Dyna, if there was ever a moment in time for you to say, okay, you know what, I don't ride that Dyna, I've got this bike and I ride it all the time, the Dyna's sitting neglected in the corner, if you were ever going to find the right time to sell it, now is that time. Now is the right time to sell your Dyna and pull a premium price for it. And you know, I'm watching YouTube or Facebook Marketplace. I haven't seen any Dynas. Craigslist, there was a couple, like an 06 and an 07. They were priced at around 8 or 9 grand, which on a newer Dyna, yeah, I could see. But now the older Dynas like mine are the ones that are pulling the premium price. So if you were ever sitting on one and you were waiting for the right time to go ahead and get rid of your Dyna, right now, today is the time to put that thing up for sale, and you're probably not going to sit on it very long. When will this trend go down? Of course. The next big thing in motorcycles will happen, and it'll start pulling the value back down. So the value of motorcycles in the Harley-Davidson universe, if you're on Planet Dyna, if you're on Planet Softail, if you're on Planet V-Rod, just wait. If you're on Planet Sportster, I have seen Sportsters, guys, do things in the marketplace that I never dreamed a Sportster would do. When you see a 74 Ironhead or a 75 Ironhead Sportster sell for $8,500 not running, that's an uptick in the value. That means that there's something going on, and today's biker follows the popular trend. That's why baggers became so important. That's why Sportsters took their uptick. That's why Softails have taken their uptick. Popular culture has, that's what brought the Lowrider ST into existence, was they were going to bike shows out in California. They were seeing what people were doing to their Dynas, and they had already introduced a new platform, which was the Lowrider S. So they were like, hey, let's just take the Lowrider S and do what these people out here are doing, and we've already got the platform for it, so let's just go ahead and make it. So that's that, guys. I just thought that was kind of an interesting thing to share with you guys, especially you Dyna owners. If you've got the Lowrider or the Dyna Super Glide, you're sitting on something. Which my Dyna's not for sale, so there ain't no sense of asking. I'm not interested in getting rid of my Dyna. I plan on just hanging on to it and riding the wheels off of it. Unless something just comes along that I can't live without, then there we go. But, and other than that, guys, man, we're on the precipice of the 4th of July, guys. I'm so excited. One of my favorite holidays. I love the 4th of July. I don't like this heat. This heat, I gotta tell you guys, we've been having some weather that's very much the end of August, 1st of September, middle of September weather, where you just have those scorching 95-degree days with 100% humidity, no wind stirring. We've been having that off and on for the last 3 weeks, and one of the driest and hottest springs I can remember us having in a while. It's been a while since I remember us having a spring this hot and this dry. But I tell you what, guys, that's pretty well much going to bring this video to an end. Like, comment, share. I don't know when I'm going to upload this particular video. I might upload it before the 4th of July. I might upload it after the 4th of July. It's just according to what kind of shop content I shoot between now and then. I'll probably go ahead and edit it out and put it in the bay for sharing, but I'm not sure when I'm going to upload it. So if you see this video before the 4th of July, are on the 4th of July. Happy 4th of July to you. Happy Independence Day. I hope you have a safe one. Please be safe. If you see this afterwards, I hope you had a great 4th of July. I hope you were safe. And celebrating our independence, guys. A very important thing, especially in this day and time. Of course, I'm not going to touch on the whole Roe versus Wade thing that the Supreme Court did. I don't have a horse in that race. I could give you my ideas on it, but you wouldn't like me afterwards probably. But tell you what, guys, we're living in interesting times. I will say this, I think this might be one of the most interesting times to be alive, because we're seeing the change of a lot of things. We're seeing a lot of things happening. But I'll tell you what, guys, that's pretty well much going to do it for this episode of Rolling with T-Bone. Find us on Instagram, like, comment, share. Find us on YouTube, find us on Facebook. I usually drop all of my stuff on Instagram first. Follow me on Instagram so you'll know when I'm going to drop a video. Usually I try to drop one every Monday. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but fortunately, I don't have to answer to nobody but myself. So guys, y'all enjoy the beautiful weather and take care of yourselves and each other. And until the next time, I'm T-Bone, and this has been Rolling with T-Bone.